What is up, guys? Welcome back to Shank. I just want to take a second at the top of this. I think it's important to address the Tatum injury. Unfortunately, I didn't really realize how harsh and pretty much just mean I've been to this guy for a very long time. At worst is extremely corny and easy to kind of poke fun at, and some of the postseason performances and celebrations are easy to maybe poke fun at and things like that. The fact that he has been surrounded by such a supremely well architected and highly invested infrastructure that has been able to insulate him from perhaps suffering some of the trials and tribulations that we are conditioned to not only just want, but need. It's like a requirement to be in Jokic's position or LeBron's first kind of position. But when you are a 6'9" Swiss Army knife, able to effectively play point guard, be your team's best rebounder, be one of the most versatile defenders in the NBA, capable of going supernova as he did last night leading up to the injury, which, if you had forgotten, he had been sitting on 42 points, 8 rebounds, 4 assists, 4 steals, 2 blocks on 57% field goals. Those are Jokic numbers. 7 of 16 from 3. And the most incredible part of all of that to me was just 3 free throw attempts went into that. That is Jamal Murray, bubble Jamal Murray type of numbers, all while down 2-1 in Madison Square Garden, a colossal swing game that effectively decides the series in a lot of instances. The bitter poetry here is he goes down most likely with an Achilles tear at the home stretch of one of his greatest playoff games ever, and embodying most of what I think a lot of people had wished he had done or had really been doing for a lot of his career, instead of deferring, taking a backseat while Derek White gets you out of trouble or Jaylen Brown sparks a big comeback, and then you're there once the game is in a more manageable place. From the start to that very moment, Tatum was the driving force for this Celtics team in this game. I think that's why it spawned so much looking in the mirror and self-reflection on at least myself, man, because it's easy to hate people like Draymond Green, who are outwardly nasty and violent and easy to kind of hate. Dylan Brooks, maybe, I don't know. Tatum's just a nice kid that, if anything, is just corny and lacks the killer instinct that we tend to admire deep down, like your Draymonds, like your Anthony Edwards. Last night he had that, and it was on full display in one of the most threatening environments in the league, in the most precarious situation you can have in professional basketball here, trailing 2-1 on the road. And the other part, I think, is the stellar track record of durability. The Celtics being such a buzzsaw for the last 2-3 seasons, essentially, a huge component of that is how healthy and available both Jaylen and Jason have been. Like your KDs or DeRozans or James Hardens, he's very much cut in the cloth of guys that want to fucking play the game, want the challenges that really good teams present to them. I think that is supremely underrated in today's league. You do have guys like John Morant, Luka Doncic, just don't seem willing or capable of putting in the extra time and effort to ensuring that they will be available for their teams. And in that respect, I have to think that Adam Silver, the league, looked down extremely favorably on Tatum. The roller coaster ride that was the Olympics rightfully should have casted a lot of fire inside of him, and as of this past postseason, on the heels of that, it seemed like it really did. The guy was clearly the alpha and the number one on this team this year, Jalen with his knee especially. This was more or less a Tatum-centric team, upping especially the playmaking in my eyes to begin to digest and solve the Rubik's Cube of defenses in more of a playmaking capacity, not taking the bait on ISOs or easy step backs and hoping that that is going to be good enough, even though he is able to get his jumper off anywhere. Backfilling for LeBron James and Kevin Durant in probably their last Olympics is just gonna be tough. I talked a lot about it during the Olympics themselves in a previous video, but it was purely a function of those two guys needing and earning their send-off the way that they had wanted it, getting those minutes and being able to represent the country for the last time. I thought it was more reflection on that than anything having to do with Tatum. But that dovetails into the overall concept of this video, which is I really don't feel great now looking back, because in all actuality, he had clearly been turning a corner. There's no real doubt about it. And assuming that superstar mantle on this team, not the recognition side, but like this team was living and dying by his hand. And yes, they go down 0-2 in the series. He was in the midst of saving the ship in the most difficult and challenging environments, both physically and in the series record, and doing it in one of the most heroic ways that I have seen from him. And to have it go out that way is really, really shitty. I think if anything, the media wants to latch on to American-born superstars, and then they set them up for failure, and a lot of times it's not really fair to them. Playing the way that he did last year in the postseason and still having the infrastructure in place to afford him a ring. None of the postseason MVP stuff seemed like he had been internalizing and working through all of that in the most productive way possible. And again, to have it go out this type of way is really, really depressing. So yes, the guy's corny. Yes, he copies celebrations. Yes, he still won despite playing horrifically in the postseason last year. Yes, he has one of the greatest infrastructures built and insulated around him for when or if he does make mistakes in these playoffs, but none of that should take away from when he has been able to showcase his supreme talents as a superstar in the league, just like last night, in lead up to one of the worst athlete injuries that you can possibly have, and robbing all of us, and mostly him, of a chance to overwrite a lot of that track record. And for that, I do feel really guilty. I feel really sympathetic. And ultimately now, it feels like the Knicks are going to stomp out the Celtics in their title defense run amid a lot of discussion around what is going to be happening with the team and, of course, new ownership, etc. Yes, he played outstanding in that Game 4 last night in a must-have superstar test trial combine type of game. He's been pretty spectacular across the board as well in lead up, even if he isn't punching and stacking up the points in the box score. You don't get a lot of these tragedies with young up-and-coming superstars getting these opportunities in the postseason, which people only have the attention span for or patience for to evaluate. And I really just wanted to double click there and send out my best wishes to Tatum, his family, the Celtics, all of their fans. Doesn't matter if you're defending a title or not, having your number one guy, and increasingly so throughout this past year since last year's run, with Tatum clearly being the number one, no fan base or team deserves that. So hearts out to you guys, and who knows, maybe he'll be back sooner than we think. Maybe it's not as bad as we think. Right now, we can only hope. All right, guys, thank you so much, and until next time.